maybe I'll die tonight, whenever, like you'd have that conversation.
Oh, fuck yeah. It's crazy.
There's always
Testing 1, 2.
There's always that kind of that call for help too.
Test.
It's a call for help. It's
Test.
a serious call for help.
Test.
Yep. And it's just a lot of these guys. Well, it's especially true for my mother and my father. Are we back?
We're back, so we can say welcome back. You want to go back and welcome back?
Yeah, welcome
Okay.
back.
All right, guys, welcome back. Okay, we're back here, part 2 of the story of resilience.
Part 2 of the resiliency story here.
Yeah.
It's been a wild journey thus far in the mind of, the life of my friend Cody here. So I know we've gone through a lot as far as the story is concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where we currently are right now.
Right now, your mom's coming off.
Mom's coming off.
You're starting the
Working
new
business, but I mean, I'm ignoring certain components of the loss of losing my father and brother, right? Like, some things are really, really difficult to focus on the way that is probably beneficial for you, but the horrific reality of coming to terms with, like Jesse and Dad not being around anymore, it's a big cross to bear. And so coming to terms with that, I think, was extraordinarily difficult, but I was putting things in place in terms of how do I manage my mind. Thankfully, I've got a guy that I can, it's funny thing, I used to have this conversation with my brother all the time, because I've been seeing Roger on just outside the downtown core for 6 years. Now, I don't see him every week or even every month, really.
And is your mental coach?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But he's a therapist, right? He's a psychologist. Yeah. And Roger, the reason why I need Roger and why I believe that everybody, I don't care how easy your life has been or how hard it's been, there is something incredibly valuable about sitting with an individual and giving them your toxins and letting them wade through them totally objectively.
We've had this conversation before, Cameron, where it's just like, that's a tough job.
Oh,
like,
man.
Can you imagine every day having to listen to other people's toxins on a regular basis and taking that in?
Especially if you're empathetic. If you have empathy for your clientele, you're bringing that home.
It's
That
good
what
and bad at the same
sucks.
time, because the
Makes
more
you very good at
empathetic
your job.
you're good at your job,
No
but then
question.
you want to go jump off the high-level bridge.
Yeah, because you
I
learn.
know it's pretty harsh, but
You
like,
learn a lot. You learn a lot.
You feel too
No,
much.
I've got a ton of respect for
And
these guys.
and this is what, in my experience, like, and I don't know, but I find that, and this is just the people that I found the most that are most drawn to that industry, are the ones that are dealing with a lot of stuff on their own, and they're trying to figure the shit out.
Exactly.
That's the best way to do it.
And I'm
though, is
just
you have
like,
to go through it
so
yourself.
like-
Look at me. Look at what I took in university, right? Like, my degree is in psychology. The reason
Yeah.
my degree is in psychology is strictly because I'm trying to figure out what the hell happened to my mom,
Yeah,
right? I had a very normal mom,
yeah.
very loving, actually above normal, above average. She was an incredible woman. And then,
It just
Not.
overnight. It's just like, what happened?
so what the hell happened?
Yeah.
So that's the curiosity that I went into university with. But it's definitely true that I think having an empathetic individual who gives a shit about what the words, because you can always tell, right? You can
Yeah,
tell when
you can
people
tell.
care.
Yeah. Okay.
This guy, yeah.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
good.
when people do that and I check right out, like, shut up, man.
People who just want to be like,
I'm done.
so tell me about that a little bit more.
I would never talk to one of those people.
Yeah.
No, the benefit of a guy like Roger is that you can sit and have a conversation. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very much like this. Like,
Yeah.
I always find having to talk to individuals or groups or
Yeah.
crowds, it doesn't matter for me. I just find it cathartic.
Yeah. I find that's why you're calling him a coach more than anything, because you're literally listening
100%.
to him, you're giving him a problem, and you're taking his point of view on it, and you're like, I never even thought of that. That's
That is
actually really,
wisdom.
really
That's
good.
what the-
You're looking at him as like, these guy's got some knowledge that
He's
I
got some
want
things that I
to
can
pick this
implement.
guy's brain.
100%. And so I can dump my horrible shit on him, and then he's
And then-
like,
And then
okay, well, let me just, why don't you look at it this way?
yeah,
A way that I wouldn't have considered.
Yeah, well,
But
you can't, because you can't look at it because you're in the shit.
I can't look at it from anybody else's eyes but my own.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like when you're like, same thing when you're running a business and you're in the shit. You can't foresee.
Exactly.
You're in the trenches. You can't deal with it. You're just like, it's coming at me from all angles. I don't know what to fucking do.
Yep.
And then it says, oh, well, they can see it from a higher perspective.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And this guy, it's important to have that close group of individuals, but it's also, these are people that care about you and will lift you up when you're down. But having somebody who doesn't know you like that, knows you from my job is to deal with you objectively.
Yeah.
So there's nothing subjective that I'm going to put into this, as much as I can remove from it anyways.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly valuable thing. So having the conversation with my brother a bunch of times of, you should go and see my guy or somebody to talk about what's going on in your head. And he was like, no, I'm not crazy. Like, it has nothing to do with crazy.
Yeah.
Do we want to be our best selves?
Do you want to learn more?
Yeah, exactly. It's an education.
It's an education thing. Do you want to learn? Do you want to learn more, or do you just want to try to figure? It's like the problem is that we've had this also. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So you can't learn. You can't learn unless someone teaches something to you.
Exactly.
You have to learn it from someone else. That's
Somebody's got to teach you.
Everything that we do, we don't learn on our own. We learn it from someone else.
Definitely.
We self-teach ourselves, but we're reading books. We're learning it from somewhere.
Definitely. And accountability is another thing, right?
Yeah.
You want somebody to hold your feet to the fire when you can't do it yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is true about having a fitness coach too, right?
Yeah.
Like Kurt was a guy who I know that if I don't show up, I'm going to get a text. He's kind of angry.
What happened, man? I waited for you.
Yeah, and I mean, Kurt was a national level bodybuilding competitor.
Yeah.
I call him the shaved pink gorilla, because that's kind of what he looks like. He's a good looking, he's a handsome but shaved pink gorilla. He's just a big
gorilla,
strong, muscly dude. Right?
Yeah.
He's coming up on 50 here. Unfortunately, he looks like my little brother. That hurts my feelings, but I've aged.
Yeah. Lake Boy? What was his name again?
Lake Boy is
Lake
better.
Show.
Lake Show.
So, I'm coming to terms with a new reality as best I can. But what we're discovering is that, the more conversations that I have with business owners about their organizations and their workforces, like, there's a lot of business owners with an awful lot of heart in this city. And I'm sure that's probably true in most cities. But times are tough, the economy is difficult, and so they're, worried about their people. Just on the psychological side of the equation, like, it's hard out there. And so what it's forcing us to do as an organization is figure out best practices in terms of what people can implement now. So things that people aren't doing. Sleep is the number one thing.
Yeah.
Sleep right now? Nobody's sleeping well.
I don't.
No, neither do I.
It's terrible.
A lot of that comes from stress. Like I've had problems with that, and the biggest reason why I don't sleep is your brain just won't shut the fuck off.
Can't shut your brain off.
You're just like, it's just going and going and going, and it's running problems. It's running problem solution, problems. Sometimes even of things that aren't even actually technically going on.
No, exactly. No, you start hopping into hypothesis.
Yeah.
What if?
What if?
That's where you get lost in the rabbit hole, and then it's 5 o'clock in the morning. You're like,
oh shit! Now I gotta be up.
yeah. So
I've been like that for years.
Well, so here's the thing. So what do we do with that, right? So what are empirical things that we can put together so that it will allow your brain to calm down? And one of the best things that you can do for yourself is turn on your light and write that shit down, everything that's in your brain, and turn your light back off.
Dude, I don't stop writing. I used to, well, you just learned that I make a lot of music, right?
Right.
I used to wake up in the middle of the night when my brain wasn't able to, I wasn't able to sleep.
Couldn't turn it off, yeah.
In pitch darkness, and what I did with my wall is I wrote a lot of my songs like this, and I put paper all over my wall, and I'd write in pitch darkness, and I'd grab a pen, and I'd just write in darkness for hours.
You're like...
This is the type of stuff that he comes. Yeah. This is what makes him creative, man, because he does these weird things
That's
that
a great
basically
thing to do, though.
Yeah, and then look at it later and analyze it.
Notice how I told Steve to turn on a light and take a notepad. If you weren't waking up in the middle of the night in your chones, writing down 1,000 different things on your wall, I would have thought that was weird. Because that's exactly what you should be doing.
Is that a little fucked up? I'm thinking of it right now, and I'm like, okay, with your psychological, like, is there any diagnosis for that?
Remember, I'm not the guy. I bring in the people that can actually speak to this stuff. Now, again, I think whatever outlet you need to get this stuff out of your brain and onto something that you can come back to later, that's important. So whatever vehicle you need to use it.
I don't know, but knowing you, the reason why you do it is because you think you might get something really cool and creative out of it. So you want to see what actually, you're more interested in the outcome, not in whatever is in your brain. You want to see like, I wonder what would happen is if I wrote this thing in the dark, you know?
No. When I turn the light, this is just me personally, when I turn the light on and do that, it ruins the flow of things. Sometimes I get in this transient state where I'm half asleep and half not asleep.
Well, yeah, as soon as you turn the light on, you kill your melatonin production, right?
Yeah, so I write when I'm still asleep.
Kind of like the whole Benjamin Franklin thing where you always only sleep 15 minutes every day, so you're always in that weird fucked up state.
By the way,
where you're always in that weird state where your brain's just creating in that almost REM sleep kind of almost like you're dreaming.
Microdosing acid. It's not a great idea. I mean, my own personal opinion.
Would that explain it? I've done that for years. I haven't done
Microdosing acid?
No.
No, I do full on like tabs. I don't microdose it. Like, come on now. Like,
take tabs like a man.
Yeah, I take them right to the forehead and just strap them there and let them sink in, man. Like, right to the brain. What do you think this freaking red dot is on my head, man? Like, that's where I put the tab. Man, jeez Louise. I'm joking. I'm not hijacking the convo. I'm just. Anyways, yeah, that's wild.
So
Sleep.
Yeah, we're figuring out what's ailing people, you know, and anxiety is probably the single biggest killer of corporate productivity on the planet right now, right? So you have your absenteeism rates corporately. So people are missing work because, you know, they're unable to make it for this, that, and the other.
I didn't sleep the night before, stressed out. No.
You didn't get any sleep.
Yeah.
Or you didn't get any sleep, but you still bootstrapped it to work. Now we've got an issue called presenteeism.
You guys just like...
Presenteeism is significantly larger in terms of billions of dollars lost in productivity due to this, right? So people come to work, they don't bring their best selves to work. They sit at their computer screen, they're half awake, they're kind of there, they're foggy-brained, right? So what do we do with that? How do we aid that? How do we help that along? How do we ensure that if implemented, if people take what we suggest, bring it home with them, and utilize it in terms of their arsenal, will it allow them to not only come to work and come with their best ideas, ready to work, enjoying work, but also go home happy, go home feeling satisfied? Mm-hmm. Right? So how do we start generating that lifestyle for you? So that's been what we've been working on for the last while. Now, while we're doing all this research, Mom getting better and better. Holos better and better. I mean, I'm still dealing with the losses to a certain extent. You know, it's one of those things about these losses too. Like when you lose somebody that's close to you, one of the things you notice is everybody else, as well-intentioned as they are, and they definitely are, but they have a tendency to get over it, of course, much faster than you're going to.
Yeah.
And so people start having conversations with you like, well, you didn't make it to the meeting the other day. How come you didn't make it? I'm like, well, because all the men in my family died. Yeah. And I'm just trying to come to terms with it.
Yeah. Well, that was 6 months ago. You're okay.
That was a couple months ago. That was like 2-3 months ago. Like, yeah, it was yesterday to me. That felt like yesterday to me.
I'm still dealing with that, buddy.
Yeah, exactly, of course.
Yeah.
So for me, it was always a matter of, okay, get to the meetings, do the work, don't do, a lot of people will tell you, you know, it's okay to stay down for a little while, it's okay to, because I think you have legitimately concerned friends that are like, well, are you just ignoring your pain by going to work?
Working all the time, yeah.
Yeah. And to a certain extent that's true, but also I'm privy to the flip side of that coin, which is I know the dangers of staying down.
Yeah, it's like changing your environment, right? Like, so the thing is that you can, I would imagine, I don't know, again, I'm not the expert and stuff like that, but I would imagine that the first step would probably just removing yourself from that environment and putting yourself in another environment that's either positive or you may not necessarily be productive in that environment, but just being there and just saying, okay, I'm going to come and be here in this environment.
It's a good step.
It's a good step in there. You just have to have the right support group around you, because at that, you have to remember when you're vibrating at that low frequency, you know, you're pulling everyone else down around you, right? So a lot of times people just don't even want to go near you. They're like, oh shit, I don't want to go around that because I don't know how to act. I don't know how to behave. I don't want to try to pump
People
their
never know what to say.
They don't know what to say.
There's no. The only way to actually know how to behave in that environment is to actually have gone through it yourself.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's
even
the
that,
only way
or really just care and just talk to somebody.
The best.
Still, it's like
you really don't know. You don't know how to behave. You don't know what to do.
It comes out well-intentioned, but some of the fucked up things people say to you is like...
You think that you have to say something, I think is what ends up happening.
Definitely.
It's like you come in a situation and you say, how you doing, buddy? He goes, well, you know, like, first of all, that's a question, like, that's like one of those dumb things. Oh, you shaved your beard, right? Oh, yeah. So one of those stuff, how the fuck you think I'm doing, man? You know, like, the fuck, man?
100%. People have the best of intentions for 99% of the time.
No, they do. Yeah, they do.
But you're absolutely right. They definitely feel like there's a need to say something because they know that if I don't say anything, I come off as a cold, callous prick. I got to say something to address this. And so they say the best thing that they can. But honestly, I mean, for me, the best thing anybody ever says to me after any of this stuff is, I don't know what to say. Because it's the most honest thing. Because of course you don't. And to be honest, I don't know what to say either. I don't know. You're going to say something to me. You're going to say something like, well,
I'm sorry, thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers.
My condolences.
God has a plan. You got a few of those. And you're like, kind of disagree with his plan, but
okay.
Thanks for the comment.
Yeah.
But they're trying to lend you some support, right? And I don't know how to offer any kind of
rhetoric question.
There's no retort. There's nothing that I can come back with that's going to make any sense either. So for you to just come up and say, I don't know what to say, of course you don't. And I get it. Because neither do I. But thank you for saying something. So anyway, so we're building this thing out, and just over a year ago, my oldest friend passes away. And his daughter is my goddaughter, Ari, and married to a wonderful woman named Michelle. And it's a weird thing when it's, I had his name was Matt Quinney. And Matt Quinney is one of the most incredible humans that I'll ever have the good luck of knowing and growing up with. I mean, this was a guy who was intensely, he's one of the quietest guys in the room, but definitely the funniest. But no need for
just came in at the right time.
Oh,
just purposeful.
He just waited and he fucking waited for the moment. Yeah,
it's just
he's a sniper.
He's a sniper.
And his delivery was always whispered. Like he'd just kind of be like, he'd say it under his breath.
Kill everybody in the room. Yeah.
Oh, it would only kill the 4 people around him because they were the only ones that would
heard it.
Funniest guy I've ever known.
Dude, I love when people are like, it's smart, eh? Like,
he didn't need the accolades. He was just saying it for himself.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
He's just listening to it, hypothesizing everything, and it slipped out. Is what ends up happening. Those moments slip out. You're listening to shit, and you're going like, oh yeah, this.
Well, he's kind of like he had this.
It's a bit of both. Yeah.
Like
totally.
when he was.
That's so good. I love when that happens.
When he kind of had this. He was beautiful because he was like. He's 35 years old, and yet he's somehow kind of cynical, but not really, but kind of. He's just a little grumpy, and his humor's a little grumpy. Oh my God!
It was
it's
good.
just it makes he
was brilliant. It was brilliant.
Literally brilliant, and that was the other side of him. That was, an amazing human.
Did I ever meet him? Maybe no.
I'm sure you saw him with me.
Yeah.
At one point or another, for sure.
For sure, I would have been.
Yeah. But he was an engineer. One of the youngest partners at this firm in Edmonton, in the history of their firm. Just brilliant, and loving and wonderful. And he and I, had a conversation at the beginning of December last year, 2017. He was struggling with some stuff, and 2 weeks later, he passed away. Got a phone call on December 28th. 28th or 29th, morning of 29th, that he had passed away. So that was the third eulogy that I gave.
How did he pass away?
He had some stuff going on. He was dealing with some anxiety issues, for sure. A guy like him, he's so dedicated to his job, to his work, perfectionist, like he was that kind of guy. But also, he had some genetic heart defects that I think we weren't privy to, that he didn't know about. And so it was just kind of a perfect storm. And after Christmas, he passed away, which was, he was also the group of friends that I used to hang out with most when it came to like my brother and his friends, was myself, Jesse, Maddie, and another buddy, John Green. And Johnny's still around. He's still kicking. It's still awesome. But, we've lost two of our guys here. And, it's always a different experience when you lose somebody who's so young, because there's so much potential for them to have gone on and do amazing things, and you really feel the weight of the potential.
Robbed almost.
Yeah. It's it's easier to feel venomously angry after you lose somebody so young, because and Ari was just a little girl, and she's still just a little girl, and he was a hell of a dad, hell of a father, and loved the living hell out of his wife, and so and he was very close to my mom, and so it was another kick to the ribs for a lot of us, but at that time, at least I was in a better place where I'd done my research, I had my strategies, I knew what I needed to do. I needed to spend some time with Roger, figuring out my mental state. I needed to spend more time at the gym, figure out my physical state. I needed to be that person for Michelle that I had when I lost Jesse and Dad, to be able to provide her with some semblance of the support network. And she's got some amazing people around her. I'm definitely grateful for her. She's got an amazing family. So
you're holding a lot.
Well,
you're holding a lot on your shoulders at this time, even right now, currently.
Well, yeah. So
you're learning a lot too. Like this is almost the environment now you are currently in, is it not?
Definitely.
Dude, this is insane. This is like you're saying being strong for your best friend's wife. At the same point, your brother, your dad, everything with your mom, and you lost your best friend.
Well, Maddie was.
I'm just trying to process this all myself.
Yeah.
I'm like,
the good thing with Maddie, Maddie was best friends to many, and so there were a lot of people who felt like they lost one of the most important people in their lives, and so the benefit for that kind of stuff is being able to. Vulnerability is a thing. Again, going back to that whole aspect of being gentle with yourself and being soft, being able to sit around with a group of individuals who have been impacted one way or another by it, the right individuals too, because some people
suck energy or. It's crazy how you're going back to the whole resiliency thing. Is you're able to look yourself in the mirror and just be like, okay, Cody, you got to put yourself together for your best friend's wife. I think that's.
I think exterior drive is an important thing, and I look at Michelle. I do not own any component of her. It's not success, but her own resilience is pretty astonishing.
Oh, huge! Yeah,
It's not. I'm not responsible for any of that, but I think it's important for us to remember, especially when you go through things that are a little outside the ordinary. Death is probably the most ordinary thing on the planet. right?
Yeah.
We're all going to experience this stuff.
This is what we talked
the
about
only
earlier. It's the only constant in the world is that we're all gonna die.
We're all gonna die.
That's what this. Well,
He told me about this before we got here.
A death stone?
Well, it's it's a bone from someone from Nepal. It's in their leg, but it's a skull, and it's. I know it's pretty wild. It's kind of fucked up. I know. How weird is that? Okay, I know.
You're wearing a stranger's shin bone.
Yeah, I am.
On his arm. I'm just like, what are you doing? I was just like, dude, I'm like, what are you?
I get good vibes from him though.
What are you carrying around?
Well, and then take it.
He was a good
So
man.
take that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's a skull and it's kind of vulgar, but it's just like, hey, you're gonna die. You're gonna die one day.
I didn't even think of it like that. I didn't even think about it like that was actually someone's shin bone. Like that's like you're
Well,
wearing.
it's a femur. It's not a shin bone.
Well, okay, you're wearing someone's femur on
Femur. Well, so that's the thing. I don't own a shin bone. Sorry, femur. But what I did do, I mean, so remembering this stuff, I also think, and paying homage to it and paying your respects in the way that you feel is important, is one of the aspects of getting through this stuff and of the grieving process. And, like I was never a guy who, like, I never wanted any tattoos, right? Like I was not that guy. And everybody else is getting them, and for me, I'm looking at them like, getting tattooed with a bunch of shit that means nothing to you, that inevitably in 10 years, you're going to look back on it and be like, well, I don't know why I got Cap'n Crunch tattooed on my left ass cheek, but lo and behold, there it is.
Yeah. I had the same realm. I'm just not that committed.
No, exactly.
I'm just not that I don't know if I might think it's cool.
No, I can't commit to the actual cereal that I want to eat in
Yeah.
the morning.
Yeah.
Halfway through, I'm like, oh shit, I should.
And
have
it's
some
also funny.
Cheerios.
It dates people. Like you can tell people.
Totally.
Like you had the armbands first, then you had the tramp stamp. So you can always tell
the belly button.
the belly button ones. Like
Buddy
now
line.
now we're running the full sleeves. Like we're in the full sleeve era.
Well, I'm heading in that direction, unfortunately. But I still remember there was a buddy of mine in high school. He shows up in class over the weekend. Weekend happens Monday. He walks in. He's like, somebody got a tattoo over the weekend. I'm like, oh really? You got a tattoo? He's like, uh-huh. Like, well, let's see it. He's like, okay. And he got the sun around
No,
his
he didn't. Belly button? No, he didn't. He didn't.
Buddy, that's a fifth pearl thing, I'm pretty sure, isn't that?
Yeah,
for
it
women?
is.
He's like, not just for women. I'm like, it's looking a little, it's definitely got that feminine vibe. He's like, I don't think so, bro. I'm like, okay. See if you get that lasered off in 20 years. I haven't kept up with him, but I'm curious if he's gone under the laser for that one.
That's funny.
These spur of the moment things, right? So
You know Raisin Bran?
this is already the best part of the night. Please continue.
I got a Raisin Bran tattoo on my ass.
Please, is that true?
I'm joking. It's not there. It's not there.
Would have been amazing.
It's
though.
Captain Crunch.
Just-
It's Captain Crunch.
You had the California raisins.
I
just
wish I
walking-
had.
Yeah, the California raisins.
I wish I had a couple raisins on my ass. I wish. I had an opportunity to, but I didn't take it.
I never understood it. I mean, for me, tattoos were never a thing. But then, I lost my dad and brother, and so
It seems frivolous at that point. You're just like, really.
for me, it was like, what do I do? And your femur band reminded me of it because to be able to remember.
I didn't even think of it like that.
No,
I
nor
just thought it
should
was.
you.
I thought it was
Desperately
weird.
upsetting.
It was a bone. But now that you mention, I'm like, that's actually somebody's bone.
No,
like another
there's a
person.
guy named Philip who's walking around being like, no, and then some asshole.
Well, Philip's dead. Philip's not here.
I know,
anymore.
but he's
Is
he's
he
up
though?
there looking.
Or is this
he's
a black market femur? And Philip woke up without just like a slinky leg.
You know those like there's like organ harvesting in China and stuff. And
I know.
they meditate for it. Like
Filipino femur harvesting is a thing.
Oh jeez. To make these little pants. No, this thing's authentic. It's good.
This guy totally died. It totally died. They dug up his grave. It's good.
This better be authentic femur, because otherwise I'm gonna be pissed.
This is so wrong.
You make me want to take this thing off.
No, you keep that on forever now. So anyway, so
Tattoos, yeah, tattoos.
yeah, so I went and I have my dad's nickname was Hammer because he laid the hammer down. He was also Norwegian, so I've got this Norse hammer on my arm. I've got the numbers 22 because that was my brother's baseball number. But I do get the odd individual who's like, "You Marvel fan, bro?" I'm like, shit.
Oh,
I just
no.
knew that was going to be a thing, right? Like, oh, somebody likes Thor. No, not really. I like my father, but now, I do like the creative components.
So you got a tattoo?
Oh yeah. Oh,
You
yes.
got one now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Whole thing's
Yeah.
getting.
Well, now, yeah, you know this.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the whole arm.
So
is
now
like-
you're doing the full sleeve thing, man. You're in the full
I have
sleeve.
to. People keep dying. I'm losing spots.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is the last family member, so after this one, we should be good. But yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for not the tradition necessarily, but the practice of paying homage. There's something to be said for, like a buddy of mine, Jared, the one that I mentioned, whom I will not
No
mention
last name,
his
yeah.
last name
Yeah, or his company.
or his company.
Yeah.
But JJ's, he went and after he lost his sister, relatively close to the time that I lost my dad. And it was the reason why he and I connected the way that we did. And it's the reason why he's one of the closest people that I have to in my life. But he went on to do this crucible where he got a group of guys together and they went and did a portion of Hell Week with the Navy SEALs, right? So they trained for a year and then they went out and did 3 or 4 days of Hell Week.
They allow you to do that, civilians,
Yeah.
to go in and do Hell Week with the guys?
Yeah, there's an organization in the States that runs like corporations. Right?
Oh, they
It's
run it
team
for
building.
businesses or teams do that and
You
shit,
can
don't
do this
they?
individually too, yeah.
Fuck that.
That's exactly how I felt when he was like, "So you wanted that hard pass?"
Hard pass.
Did you do it?
No.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
No, and some of these guys came back and like,
I just got
But you know what, man? You
completely
go
raped.
through. But if you go through it, man, that's one of those things. You like, I made it though.
and
You
that's
did it though,
exactly
because the whole course is like 6 months long, isn't it? Cool,
Well,
you did Hell
they-
Week.
they-
Sweet. There's like the rest of the other 9 months of it.
These guys trained hard for a year.
They got
And-
their ass handed to them on
Oh,
like
yeah.
another level.
Dude,
of
like
handed.
that's you can't train
but
for that. It's a psychological mind fuck.
That's why he did it.
Yeah.
For him, it was a matter of crucible, right?
Yeah.
I
Breakdown?
Yeah, I need something that is going to provide me with
Feeling alive or like.
feeling something first and foremost. When you lose somebody like that, the numbing aspect is, for me and for him, I mean, it's pretty strong.
Yeah.
And so, but also bringing yourself back. How do I come back from this kind of stuff? Now, the conversation that I have with people is, you can drive yourself crazy with the question of how do you come back, right? People evolve. They evolve naturally. When you experience hardship, it's going to change you. If your desire is to consistently get back to the person that you were, no, that's not going to happen.
Wow, that's powerful.
Well, you've changed. Coming to terms with the change is how you find happiness again. Accepting that you're different, that's okay, but how to manage that, that's where you find joy and peace in it. But not ever, because I've gone through this where I've definitely looked back on who I was previous to losing everybody. Not everybody, I still got people. I got you guys. So
Yeah.
But my desire to go back to the guy who, was walking around in $2,000 suits and wearing expensive shoes and watches and being, relatively flashy, and that guy who was happy to be at any gala and in the thick of it and, like wheeling and dealing. I miss that. I miss that guy. I thought that guy was kind of cool. That guy was also full of shit in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of bullshit there. But there's also, he was pretty happy. And now, this guy, less happy, but more dedicated to something that really sparks his soul. Like,
You know what, man? I never got that from you though. Like meeting you, my initial meeting, because this is the first time I've met you. I never ever picked that up from you.
The less happy side?
What I pick up from you is you're probably the most authentic person I've actually met. Like when I meet you,
means a lot.
when you say something, I'm just like, wow, this guy's authentic. Like he's actually. Do you meet some people who basically like are dressed up and wear shit and they come around and they're pompous almost and you're like, man, you're full of shit. Like you can see that. I'm like, that guy's full of shit.
You would love me. Seriously.
you know, but you can
I
see
wish
that.
I met you then.
Well, you met me when I was still dressed in the suits, but I was like, holy fuck, get me out of these suits. That's when you met me.
Yeah.
I mean, but
We were watching football, though.
we were watching, I
Soccer.
mean, also known as soccer, but you met me at the tail end of that.
Yeah.
Now, the organization that I run now and the things that we're seeking to do, I mean, it allows me to have, what I love about it most is it allows me to have really personal conversations with a lot of individuals about, okay, so what are we doing, right? What are your hardships? Because it's likely, I mean, I don't know you, I don't know what it's like for you to experience a loss, right? I know what it was like for me to go through it. And so that's one of the other mistakes I think that can be made, which is, you know, your experience you feel is everybody else's experience if they've gone through the same, something similar. Right?
Or how you got through it.
Exactly.
Just do what I did.
Just do it exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
Provide advice like that.
Yeah.
A little dangerous.
Yeah.
What we can do is say, here's some best practices that are proven by science on the
Yeah.
psychological side that we know in terms of like why it's important to actually get sleep, how to reduce anxiety, why nutrition is an important component of all this,
Yeah.
why fitness is an important component of all this. Those key characteristics, we can have those conversations. But I can't tell you that I understand what you're going through. Because realistically, because of just how different your life is,
Can't.
of course I can't.
No
I
idea.
have no idea.
General concept, though. General idea.
Yeah, it's a general.
I know what it feels like to feel pain.
Well, yeah, not only that,
know
but like
pain.
just even in life, like general concept, like there's certain things that we need to do, you know, like, you know, grow up, go through school, get married, have kids. Like there's a certain regimen, but like everyone's life is so different that it's almost sometimes impossible to hit those landmarks, or they happen at different times, or you're going through different stages or different obstacles. You can't, like you don't know what people are dealing with, right?
Being empathetic is an incredibly difficult thing, and sometimes, you know, I can definitely feel somebody else's pain when they go through some shit, but I don't know the extent of it, and I don't know.
You can
where
just
your
feel it.
pressure
You
points
just
are.
don't.
sense it.
You're just feeling
Well, I
it,
think
but
we
you don't
all
know
do
where
to a
it's
certain
coming
extent,
from.
right? Like, you know, you're sitting with a pal who's gone through something hard. Your heart breaks for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's sympathy, but there's also empathy there. But to go in and pretend like I understand the details of one's pain is a different thing entirely. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, unless we're sitting on a couch and you're telling me your deepest, most innermost
Dude, man,
feelings.
dude, I've gone through some like small pains or whatever like that. I can't even figure out the details myself. How the fuck is someone else gonna
Exactly.
figure it out that's not even feeling it?
Exactly.
You know, like
totally.
I'm just like it's impossible.
100%. I mean, trying to figure out this stuff is extraordinarily difficult, trying to wade through these waters. But what other choice do we have? I mean, that's the flip side of this coin, too. There's a, you know, like I said at the beginning of all this, in terms of Holos and the company that we've created, our job is to try and develop the most resilient organization on the planet. I mean, that's what we want to do. That's our grand vision, right? We want to teach people to take care of themselves so that organizations, when we hit economic turmoil, when your people go through hardship, when there's trauma within the workplace or outside of it, people know how to manage. But you know, resilience is an incredibly hard thing. Have you guys ever heard Invictus?
No.
Get the fuck out of here.
What? Let me
That's
see.
wild.
Do you
Show me
have-
that again? Holy shit. You
He has
Invictus
it-
at home? At least? Yeah,
Which
I'm
po-
gonna read you something because you're gonna understand something right quick about your old buddy Cam. That's weird.
Right on the heart, too.
Oh, so I'm getting the last stanza tattooed onto my arm.
That's deep.
You guys are reading the same stuff?
I got the whole thing tattooed. I got the whole thing tattooed on my heart. That's wild, man.
So listen to this. So,
Dude, I say that to myself every day in the mirror.
it's important. It's incredibly important. So, there's this old poem called Invictus, written by William Ernest Henley. Apparently he wrote this when he was 16, which begs the question, holy shit, what did you go through at such a young age? But it's a short poem, but I'll read it because it's important. So, out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul. So the last two lines are some of the most famous in poetic history, I have to imagine. I mean, most of us have heard that. But the philosophy of that, grit, right? Life is tough. Life can be hard. It's going to be really hard sometimes. In fact, life can be awfully cruel. But I get to choose how I react to it. Meaning, we're living in very interesting times right now. You look at social media, and the way to become popular on social media is there's a lot of, oh my God, look what has been done to me. Or, we've got this victimization culture where we have a lot of fragility. A lot of people are hurting.
Huge.
And there's a lot of look at how the world is happening to me. It's a dangerous place to be, isn't it? I mean, that's a dangerous philosophy to have because
I think it's kind of sad.
It's horribly sad.
It's weak-willed.
I don't want the world to happen to me. I want to happen to the world. I get to choose how I react to this stuff. Doesn't mean that I get to choose whether or not I feel pain. Of course I feel pain. But I get to choose how to move forward from that pain.
That's all we get.
That's all we get.
Like the reality of the situation is and this is one of the things that I've recently learned is that we have no control over our path.
No.
Other than the fact that we control the choice once the opportunity arises.
That's exactly it.
So once the choice and the decision comes, you can either go one way or the next. That's all we get. And then basing on the choices that we make, it points us in a different direction.
It's incredibly important to realize that we get that control, though. You're talking to a control freak. I remember the first time I sat with Roger, he goes, so tell me about your desk at work. I don't know what that even means. He's like, so just describe it for me. I'm like, well, computer and pencils and pens and notepads. And he's like, so those pencils and pens, are they in a drawer? Or do you leave them just on the counter? I'm like, no, they're in a drawer. Are they all pointing one direction, or are they kind of just shoved in there? No, they're all placed in their proper spot. So are the pens, erasers, and calculator, and so on and so forth. Put in their spot. And he goes,
Is that what he did? Did he laugh?
yeah. He was like, you're going to struggle with this one. Because at the time I was introduced to Roger through my brother's rehab program. Cool program, because they realized that trauma occurs on both sides, from the alcoholic, also the family, because the family's dealing with the alcoholic or the addict. So Roger was introduced to me that way. I said to Jess, I'll go to my own meetings with this guy if you go to rehab. So that's what we did. So that's how I met him. That was a long time ago. But as soon as I said that, he was like, you're going to struggle with this. I said, well, I mean, I don't want to say the word duh, but obviously I'm going to struggle with it. But what do you mean? He goes, well, you like control? Like, well, very much. Yeah. I mean, you remember talking to the guy who told his father, Parkinson's?
We'll beat it.
We'll beat that.
We'll beat it.
Yeah. So control is definitely an issue for me. And he's like, well, one of the things that you're going to come to terms with when you're dealing with an addict is just how little control you
have. Yeah.
Because addicts, these poor people, they can't control themselves. How the fuck are you going to control And he was right. I mean, that was an important lesson for me, which was, okay, so what are the things that we can control that allow us to put that best foot forward? I mean, there's I don't know when the last time you guys watched, what was it, the 12th Rocky movie, but Balboa. Have you guys seen that?
Is the 12th one?
No.
Or isn't it like,
No, he's being on
isn't
hyperbole.
it Creed
It
versus
was the one before Creed.
but it was called Balboa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Can? See it?
I believe so.
Okay, there's a speech in there that is, I mean...
There's the one he gave to his kid, right?
The world will beat
Exactly.
you to your knees and keep you there permanently.
Yeah.
Right, if you let it.
Yeah.
It's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard
You can get hit,
and
and
keep
get back
moving
up,
forward.
keep moving forward.
That's how winning is done.
That's how winning is done.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly important because it's true, isn't it? I mean, inevitably we're going to get knocked around in this life. So how do we get back up? What's our strategy for getting back up? And then when we get hit again, right? So
That's
Resiliency.
that's what the whole thing too. Like
what it is.
what people don't realize is that the most successful people have failed the most amount of times.
That's exactly it.
I'm like, it's you learn through your failures. You don't learn through your successes.
Not even Stevie, not even failures. Like what he's going through is like the world would be completely okay if like Cody became an alcoholic and disappeared off the planet.
Well, I mean, that's next month, but this month.
You know what I'm saying though? Like not even in business or anything.
No, but-
just like
but-
in life, like the resiliency of going through what you did with your family and even being here. how
But it
is,
changes
it's
him,
insane.
right? Like, so everything, the resilience you're going through, the resilience and all of the hardships that you're going through are changing you. And
Of course.
and based on what you're telling me, I almost think that it's changing you for the better. You're becoming a better person. It's hard. It sounds like it's hard as like it's like the hardest thing you've ever had to do, but it almost seems that it's almost changing you from the person you are now to who you were.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are things that I become aware of,
Yeah.
much more aware of now than I was, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I mean, at the same time, there's other components of me that have had the shit kicked out of it that I haven't resolved yet.
Yeah.
And so those are not so good. Those are less good, right? So I have every intention of, you can't solve this shit either. It's maintenance and care and moving forward, right?
Yeah, one step at a time. That's
exactly
how do you eat an elephant? You know?
So that's the other tattoo that I have on this arm. So anyway, I mean, we're going long here.
Do you really have a tattoo, or you just say that you're pulling a cat?
That'd have been so beautiful.
If you just pulled out.
An elephant on my arm?
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of happy that you're talking about getting tattoos, and I was talking about getting raisin bran on my ass. But then I was able to pull this one off. I was able to pull this one
That
off.
brought a level of depth out that I wasn't expecting after the raisin brand comment. But,
See, there you go.
That's genuinely cool that you have that, because I'm getting the same thing put on mine.
Yeah.
Well, not Invictus, but I'm
I know,
getting
did
last
the
stanza
last
put
two.
on.
Yeah.
But so we fast forward a year, and I'm working in the company, and we're working on it, and we're scientists with this organization, right? So we've beta tested a bunch. We've gone out with corporations and sought what works, what doesn't, what's the best means of deployment. Is it on-site, face-to-face? Is it digital means? We're leaning towards more digital now. It's just the way of the world. And then I was out in North Carolina doing some work for a client, and my mom's not getting back to me, right? I'm only there for 5 days, but mom, who's always good at getting back to me, is not getting back to me, so I send my nanny over to check in on her. This was in November, and she found my mom passed away in her bed, and so
It was 2 months ago.
it's 2 months ago, yeah. So that's the last of my family. All under fucked up circumstance. She got pneumonia, didn't go to the doctor. Should have gone to the doctor. She didn't. But I had my fourth funeral, did my fourth eulogy. And every loss feels different. They all feel different. And I think there's something to be said for losing your mom. that feels different from, it's true losing your father and your brother, your sister, grandparents. I mean, they're all different. But the last year, she became my number one cheerleader. Like, she was just behind me 110%. Whatever I was doing, she was helping fund components of the organization we were starting. She was helping with just moral, emotional support. She was just there in my corner. But, and don't get me wrong, it sucks. I mean, losing mom is horribly tough. But mom probably, I mean, it's a miracle that she lived this long, to a certain extent, considering all the drugs in her body and all the shit that she'd gone through. The number of times that she OD'd in her life. That in and of itself was relatively shocking. And there's the miraculous aspect of, I got my mom back. In all likelihood, that probably wasn't going to be the thing. I probably wasn't going to get her back, right? She could have died while she was on Oxy. I never would have established or reestablished a relationship with her, and that would have been it. That would have been my memories of my mom.
Do you think it's harder now that you had that year of
No.
getting to know her?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, I probably miss her more now. But there's a funny thing about gratitude. Is that, I mean, try being grateful for something and depressed or sad or angry or, venomous or toxic or any of those things.
Mm-hmm.
It's extraordinarily difficult.
Tough.
Yeah, gratitude goes a long way. And, with her, I miss her a ton. But I'm so grateful that I had her in my life, and that I got to have that kind of relationship. A lot of sons don't get that with their moms.
And then you got her back.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking from that whole story, with all of the darkness that she was going through, the fact that you got her back and she came back, I almost think it's like a storybook ending almost.
And she died in a way that
Sounds peaceful.
She wasn't in a bunch of pain. Yeah, she died in her bed. The concern for me was always that I was going to find her dead because of the oxy, or that she would have gone and killed herself. And she was a survivor, man. When she was on oxy, she was the penultimate. She was the very definition of a victim. Look at what happened to me, and nobody would fault her for thinking that.
Yeah.
Right?
It makes sense.
Oh God, she was. But she was on paper, and she was in her mind. That's how she identified herself. When she started coming out of this stuff, tough lady, right? Just bootstrapped it and started actually opening up and being vulnerable and letting things out that she'd held in for years, and watching her level of grit in terms of her fight back to becoming who she was. Oh, a movie could be made just about that. I mean, it was astonishing watching her do what she had to do to get back. And so being able to bear witness to that, watching, I consider myself a pretty gritty guy. I mean, in terms of my capacity for resilience, it's not bad. But, I've never lost a child. God willing, I never do. I can't understand what she went through. We lost the same person. But I lost a brother.
Different relationship.
I lost a brother. She lost a kid.
Yeah.
She found him. And, I can't understand that pain. So watching what she did with all of it, the way that she came back, oh man. It's those kinds of things that are like, okay, I have a duty, don't I? I don't have any option. I gotta figure out a way to stand back up dust off your shoulders, right? And also, I had this conversation with this pretty amazing gal that I know that she's gritty as all hell, and she's got her own emotional scars, So we were talking about them, and one thing I know for myself is that in terms of leadership, I want to follow the guy who is by far the most scarred individual. I want to know that somebody has been through this shit time and again and has forced himself back up over and over and over. Like, we have a tendency, for some reason, it's this cultural thing where we like to just hide our emotional scars from people, right? Like, don't tell anybody that you're depressed. Don't tell anybody that you're dealing with anxiety, or, that stigma is starting to go away, which, thank God. But why that stigma existed in the first place, you know what I mean? Like, I watched my mom with clinical depression and severe struggle to get up in the morning and get back to things, come back to herself. But I respect the living hell out of what it took because, I get to wake up and hop in the showers. And for me, obviously, because of all this shit, don't get me wrong, some days waking up and hopping in the shower, definitely harder than others. But I can't even imagine what it was like for her, And for them to go out and do stuff. I'll follow somebody like that every day to the day I die. That's super impressive to me. And, but we don't have the role models that we need. I mean, we have this tendency to the fetishist idea of celebrity, and that's the people that we follow and we care about, and that's what social media predicates us to. It's a dangerous thing.
Extremely dangerous.
Oh, God, that's what it teaches us, and that is what it teaches our kids, right? Like, these are the things that are important.
What makeup they have, or what bag they're wearing, or what dress they're at the red carpet with, or who they're dating.
Hey, listen, don't get me wrong, I don't mind putting on a suit from now and again, and I don't mind, buying something nice.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But it used to be, there was a time in my life where I was like, okay, well, this is how I build my brand and my identity. Whew. That's not how you build your identity. Life will build your identity. The actions that we talked about, the things that we choose to do with everything from the good things to the bad things.
Yeah.
And how we put that best foot forward, that's how you build your identity.
And the character.
The seeds you plant, the whatever you sow, you reap kind of thing, right? So like, it almost seems like, I personally believe that a lot of that has to do with the relationships you build.
Yeah.
And like, and you're right, social media and all this stuff, it really doesn't do, like
Surface.
It's all surface, it's all facade, it's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
We work in the industry of smoke and mirrors. Like,
Yeah.
the whole thing is smoke and mirrors. Just people don't realize. Like, I can see it. The real value in life, is 100% the relationships, the people you surround yourself with, the way the knowledge and the things you teach others that are around you, and the conversations you have on a regular basis.
Definitely.
Like, that's where I've personally myself have found the most amount of joy, is like doing that. Like, the surface stuff, it's fleeting. Even when I create things, I'll create things and you put it out there, and then you never think about it again. It fucking disappears.
Yeah, 5 minutes of happiness.
Yeah,
But
it disappears, and it's gone. Like, nobody even cares anymore.
Especially with camera work, you can make something really shitty look like something really. You have an eye for it. I have an eye for it.
You know how I look at my camera work, though, and this is the reason why I value what I do so much, is not so much me creating something for everyone else. I look at it as a form of documenting my memories.
Yeah.
Documenting what I see. Everything that I record is a recording of what I've actually seen in my life. That's exactly what it is that I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's profession. I'm talking more so like someone's Instagram account where like you
we
can
do that. I mean, the Instagram thing is like, this is how we want people to see us.
Yeah, it's the difference.
It's very phony. It's very facade.
The feet in the sand and life's perfect. Hashtag yippee. Hashtag it's like,
Fuck you.
okay, but also now I want you to hashtag something that's shitty.
Yeah.
Take a picture of something that sucks today.
Dude,
and put that
it
up.
takes a long time to do that. I'm just like, imagine all the moments that you miss.
Totally.
you miss
Absolutely.
from like looking at it through a little screen when you could just put the screen down and actually
Experience it.
experience it for like in real life. And that's one of the couple things that we're, as a society, we're losing. We're losing that. Like where people don't, like you walk down the street and people are walking down the street, like, I'm just like, have a look around. Like, look around.
You think that's planned from higher up down? Let's get all the people stuck on their phone. You think that's a planned thing? 'Cause if I was running the show,
Yeah, but nobody has that type of control. I think that's something
a
that's
big
just
thing.
that's something that just gets evolved.
This is a culture that
It's a
we're
created.
now experiencing, right? I mean, this
I don't know if that's they're marketers, man. Facebook uses certain color patterns and certain things to keep you stuck on that platform.
Well, yeah,
Dopamine
they
levels and
use
everything, so you're
the like
constantly ding ding to the notifications, to how they buzz.
Well, they're
how
doing
they
an
ding.
info swipe of everything on your phone all the time. I mean, at the same time,
They keep you stuck.
we
to
want
it.
corporate sponsorship, right? So, like, we sure love Facebook.
Oh yeah,
we love them.
I love Facebook too. Great advertising
Same
platform. You guys are awesome.
Don't bite the hand. Yeah. So anyways, fellas, that's all I got for
I
you.
fucked the whole thing up.
Yeah,
It's not
shit.
necessarily a bad thing that we're doing it. Facebook
It's
is
just
fine.
got yanked from the internet. You know who I hate? Apple, Facebook, Instagram. Just name all the giant
I'm like,
corporations.
great, Alex Jones, you're out of here. You're banned from everything. You can't be on any platform anymore.
Yeah, Alex Jones, you guys, that will be.
He went pretty
amazing.
deep. He went pretty deep though. Like, I'm not
Dude,
getting Alex
I would.
Jones
It
right
would be
now.
so funny. He goes, oh, I'm so pissed off. I'm sorry. I lost this. I've never seen a guy who loses shit so much, and then after he loses
And
it,
then
I'm
gets it
sorry.
right back.
I'm sorry.
Well, they call that multiple personality disorder, though. Like, that's holy shit.
That
He
just-
started out. InfoWars was dope back in the day, like 2007. InfoWars. What? I'm saying the Obama deception. Like that was sick, man. No, he killed it.
I don't know,
man.
conspiracy theorists I struggle with mightily.
Anyways,
I love it, man.
yeah,
We
that's
got.
this. I think we.
Where are we going from here?
Yeah.
Good question. I mean, in terms of our organization, we've got some good ideas in terms of direction now, and we've got the product that's being refined, and so it's looking better every day, and I've got an amazing group of individuals that work with us. So, like-minded individuals who, number one, their desire is to make a significant impact for the people that we work with. Business side of the equation, things are looking great. I can't complain about that. On the personal side, we'll see. One of the things that I find is important when you go through stuff like this is remembering the miracles, right? And for me, the best way that I remember something grander than myself is travel. So to put myself in a place where I can do some hiking and look out over something, not like that. Dear God.
That's what acid looks like.
But like when I lost Jess, I hopped on a plane and went out to Romania, spent 3 weeks out there. And it was important because, during the day we would hike the Carpathian mountain range. And there's this highway out there called the Transfigurășan. And there's this corkscrew up this cliffside called Ceausescu's Folly.
It's a famous road.
Extremely famous road.
Very photographed.
One of the most beautiful roads on the planet, if not the most.
A lot of switchbacks.
Yeah, exactly. Like unbelievably gorgeous. The whole Transfigurășan is amazing. For me to be able to go out and first and foremost remember that just how beautiful this planet is important.
Just connected with nature again, right?
Yeah, I mean, staying in the city is a dangerous thing. I think for most of us, we all need to leave. We all need to get out of here and go and embed ourselves with, and I'm not the guy who goes camping. I'm really not. Like, I'm the guy, I need a mattress at the end of the day. But it's the important mentality of being able to stand atop a cliff and look over a valley. And again, I mean, it's gratitude, right? It's hard to be able to look at those things and feel sorry for yourself or focus on your predicaments. I I mean, at least for me it is. So I'm going to try to squeeze in some travel here. We've got something interesting that we're trying to put together called the Evolution Project that ties fitness with humanitarian efforts. So group of individuals, if you think about what, I forget his name, I think it's Jared, but what he did with the Navy SEALs, you know, he trained these guys for a year, and then they went out and did. He also knows karate, like he's gonna.
I'm just like this,
Gonna
Jared.
kick
We're
your
gonna
ass,
know
right?
everything about Jared except who he is and the name of his company. I'm like, Jared sounds like this awesome guy that nobody knows who it is. I'm like, listen, if you watch the show and you petition enough in the comments, maybe we'll drop it in the comments.
Right, but for now, we're gonna call him Jeff. So Jeff, when he did this thing,
Holy
you know,
shit, that's
they
hilarious.
went out and they did this Navy SEAL experience, and for us, it's a matter of can we tether fitness with humanitarian efforts? Can we tether something that, you know, it's tough to hike into remote areas, so we have to be in good shape for it. But that purpose is then to go out, fly somewhere, land, put on our bags, hike into an area, help build orphanages, help build, you know, communities, do that stuff like that. You know, that's another little side project that we got going on that I hope we can launch this year. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, you know.
These sounds like very cool, very ambitious things.
Thanks, man.
Like stuff I think like that, something like that is like is something that needs a lot of eyeballs on it.
Yeah,
Right? Because then
I
people look
sure
at
hope
stuff like
so.
that more people can get involved in that type of stuff, and that's
Definitely. You know, some of the best times of my life. One of the best times of my life was we went to Haiti and we're building homes out there after the earthquake. You know, and it just having that group of people together. You know, it's an important thing because you see these kids in the morning, these Haitian kids, and they're just stunningly beautiful. Like these kids are just, their clothes are perfect. They all wear uniforms. They're little. They're like, you know, 5, 6, 7 years old, all marching off to school. They're surrounded by rubble. This is 3 years after the earthquake. Fucking nothing's been happened because corrupt politicians have taken all the donated money. So all other organizations that would lend money are holding it back until politics change. So these people have literally nothing, like nothing.
Still smiling,
Shanties,
still happy.
They're living in rubble.
Yeah.
Yeah, these kids are smiling.
dude.
And we're
it's-
out here feeling sorry for ourselves.
And it's like, oh, I didn't make
You know
my
what?
$5,000 today.
You know what it is though. Because I've done this and I've gone back and I've experienced this stuff too. It comes down to the relationships. Their relationships are so much stronger because they don't have all the other distractions of everything, and they need each other.
Yeah.
So they can't afford to cocoon themselves in a house by themselves in these big massive
No, you're
homes
right.
by themselves. They can't afford it, so they have to basically create these small little groups of communities, and they need to find groups of communities to survive. And then when you
Community is
do
a survival tactic.
and then when they do
It is,
that,
yeah,
they
it is, yeah.
basically like feed off each other, and then this happiness, because we're social creatures, comes about them. It's it's incredible. Like I experienced that a little bit too when we went down to Ecuador. We went down a few times to Ecuador to do hip replacement surgeries.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I went with a group of doctors that would do
Yeah.
these hip replacements, and the first time that I went, it was a shock to me. I couldn't like. You went from being like this to like, whoa,
Yeah.
what did I just walk into?
Yeah.
Because like, the first day that I walked in there, I'm like, yeah, I'm going down there as a translator, help these people with the Spanish, the doctors, stuff like that. And we walk into this hospital, and like, we coming off the bus and we're with my group of people, but we haven't seen anybody yet. We come into the hospital, and the place is packed.
Oh, yeah.
And we walk in there, and everyone's like,
They applauded.
cheering, man. Like,
Holy
fucking
no
cheering. And you're just like, going in there, I'm just like, where am I?
Yeah.
What is this? What is going on? Like,
Yeah.
and you can feel this overwhelming. You're just like, whoa. And then
They're
you
cheering for the doctors.
all the doctors, because they're all need
Saving
surgeries.
Yeah.
They all need like these replacements. And then it gets really hard, because once they actually went and did all the applauding, like I was like, whoa, that was crazy. All those people that were waiting there, we had to interview every one of them, because there's only 40 surgeries that could be done. So you have to go through every single one of those interviews, and you have to find out what the problem is, look at the x-ray, and you either decide yes, no, next year.
Yeah.
Like that was the order that things like, and so sometimes you would sit there and you'd have to go through these, and like you'd get some like heartbreaking stories,
Oh,
right?
sure.
And like these doctors would make some choices that like I remember one time, it was like it just broke me sometimes because I'm like, the doctors don't speak Spanish,
Right.
so I have to translate, and they pulled me aside. This lady with her son who was in a chair. He had a club foot, and she goes, "We were rejected." Like just telling me in Spanish, we were rejected. I don't understand why we were rejected because the doctors here in Ecuador said that they could fix his club foot. Why are the Canadian doctors saying we can't fix his club foot? And so I said, this is what they're asking. Why was he rejected? And they said, well, the kid has muscle dystrophy. So even if we fix his club foot, he's never going to walk again.
Right.
So there's no point in fixing his foot because it's not going to help him walk.
She's not understanding that though.
And I'm just like, I have to translate this? I have to deliver that message now to this family who's basically here looking to think they're going to be safe. And it was the hardest thing I had to do.
Doctors do that all the time. No, they get numb to it, I think, don't they?
Well, I mean, that's a hard.
Like that was,
I don't know. I'm
hard.
not a doctor, so I can't really.
Yeah,
say.
and then
I can't speak on
so
that.
this is what I had to now tell this family, and they now just break down
Yeah.
and cry.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, whoa, like this is like there, but like there's a lot of hardship going on in this world, and people are
Does
going
a
through
lot
a
for
lot
your
of stuff.
perspective, though, doesn't it?
Oh yeah,
In terms of gratitude and realizing what we should be grateful for. And don't get me wrong, I'm not the guy who's walking around being like, oh, humanitarian this and humanitarian that.
No.
I get lost in my own shit all the time, right? Caught up in my own world.
yeah,
But it's why, for me, travel, stepping outside of these borders and seeing the world is the best education that you can grant anybody because it offers that. It puts you in your place in terms of where we are in this world.
it's almost like a stop too. Like
yeah.
you're in this weird rat race, and as soon as you get pulled out,
for sure.
you get pulled out, you go for like 10 days, 15 days. That's the longest 10, 15 days of your life.
Yeah.
Like where you're just like, you stop
Yeah.
and you look. And you go around and you actually absorb everything that's
You
around
open
you.
your eyes for the first time in a while.
You see things like you're just like, you go for walks and you're just like, whoa. Like
Yeah.
you just like, I'm like, you start appreciating stuff.
Definitely.
You know?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, this was a fantastic episode. Like, we're gonna 2-part this one for sure.
This has to be a
Yeah,
two-part.
Yeah, we may have to. This is
Yeah.
7 hours now, so it's
Yeah.
like the Godfather podcast. Thanks for having me, fellas. I
No. We really
Thanks for-
appreciate that, man. And like,
to be
we look forward to a lot more of stuff from your company. And
Is there any collateral you could send, or is there a website, or is there an email address? Is there
like, how do people even get involved?
Our following can do this, or is this mostly business to business?
Well, we're rebranding our website right now. But I mean, if you can go to www.holosproductivity.com to find us.
HolosProductivity.com.
HOLOS
Yeah.
productivity.com.
Okay.
You can find us that way. And yeah, I mean, I've got collateral that I can fire off to you guys for sure. So definitely,
Yeah, because I can link to all that in the show notes and everything, and plug you that way.
that'd be great.
And yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect, man.
Yes. Well,
Awesome.
thank you, Cody. I really appreciate that, dude. That
Thanks
was,
for having me.
Yeah, that's wild, man. ThoughtXchange, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah.
Steve Van Dies, Cody Lakevold, Cam Barkey. See you guys next week. Take care.
Take care. Okay, fuck this shit.